What's going on, fellow engineers? This video series will be in conjunction with Engineers Week, which takes place this week. And what I'm going to do as part of that highlight of Engineers Week is I'm going to actually redesign my NSBE chapter's website. NSBE stands for the National Society of Black Engineers, and I figured, hey, Engineers Week, NSBE, it only would make sense, right? So each video for this week, this week I'm going to do a video for each day discussing the redesign process that I'm going to do. And actually I'm going to be doing coding sessions so that you can potentially learn from the process of how you can take an existing site and pretty much redesign it and, change the layout to be updated. So if you have a site that you need to refresh, if you have a website that is just using outdated technology, I'm just going to run through all of that as well as do some coding so that you can gain some experience with that and understand kind of like how the life cycle works when it comes to working in software development. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Alright, so if this is your first time checking out the channel, I ask that you please consider subscribing to the channel. It also helps, in addition to help me knowing that people are interested in this content, it also helps YouTube promote this content. So again, please subscribe and click the bell to get notifications for when new videos are released. So this is the current website for my NSBE chapter. And if you're interested in NSBE, you can go to nsbe.org and look up more about it. But as you see, this is a mobile-friendly site. So if I resize it, it does resize accordingly. Currently, this site runs on Drupal 7, but I am looking to change that to a static website because we don't have much content that we create, as far as like news releases and so forth. Pretty much anytime we have new news, we drop that out as an email and not so much as content on the website. In changing this over to a static website, I will be using GitHub and leveraging GitHub Actions to deploy, any updates that come to the site. So essentially, GitHub will be the content management system for this site because we do have some engineers that are in the group that are not necessarily technical in nature. When I mean technical, I mean they don't work in the IT space. So although they understand, websites and all of that, they don't necessarily not well versed in like programming and web design concepts and those type of things. So I wanted to make it easier for if I'm maintaining this site in the future, or if somebody else is maintaining this site in the future, that they don't necessarily have to come to me and say, hey, we need to update this. They can go to GitHub, go in, find the pages, make the necessary edits. Everything else takes place as far as saving, updating the site in production, and there's that. So the first part of the process that I do normally when I'm looking at redesigning a site is look at the existing content, look at the existing layout, see where changes can be made, compare it to other websites. That my NSBE chapter is part of a bunch of other chapters that exist in the organization. So I've kind of looked at other chapters' websites to see what they have on theirs and done a comparison. Our site is not too far off base from what some of the other chapters have. Some of those chapters don't actually have mobile-friendly websites, which if you are familiar with web development and website development, you know that Google takes into account the SEO rankings. Google takes the mobile friendliness of a website into the SEO rankings. So if your site is not necessarily mobile friendly, you get dropped down further in the list on the recommendations when people are searching. And so I do want to keep that mobile friendly aspect of things. So what I'm going to be doing is to be using Bootstrap to theme the site. a lot of the stuff that's here now, such as being able to log into this site because it is a content management system, you can log into it. That's going to go away because, well, we really don't have that need for that. The photo gallery, we put a lot of our pictures on social media, so this aspect of things will be transitioned over to our Facebook and Instagram and other pages of the like. Uh, the programs, though, that information will remain. The events, we have it already linked to the chapter's Facebook event page. And so we list all of that stuff there. So that will remain the same as well. You can also join and get a membership. And so listing all of that information here will still be on the website, but the setup of it will be a little bit different because right now we do have, I believe, CiviCRM integrated into this site to make it feasible to manage it, but the adoption of CiviCRM was not well taken, if you will, by those who manage the membership or are responsible for overseeing that, making sure that members pay their dues and so forth. So since there is no, I guess, value add to that, I figure I take that out, and then we go with simple like PayPal buttons or something similar where those payments can be made in an easier way and supported into the structure and systems that we kind of already have placed as far as managing members. And then also there's a contact page, and so that will still remain as well. I want to try to change this logo up to be a little bit different, and I'll probably do that as I go through the process of actually redesigning and so forth. So what I've done is on GitHub, this project does exist on GitHub. It's one of the repositories because when I manage the site, I wanted to have version control. As you know, if you use a content management system, the chances are there are chances where you make an update, and the update that you make as far as like the plugins or the modules in the case of Drupal will actually break your site, and you want to be able to roll back to the previous version. So I started using version control for that reason, because we did have some plugins that were implemented that didn't quite do too well, so we had to roll back. But what I'm doing now is, so I have some of the items here, and I'm gonna continue to go through this list and create more issues in here. And the reason I'm doing that is more so for a project management aspect of things, so that as I go through and make the necessary updates, changes, whatever the case may be, that I can track those to the work assigned. Normally when you're working in an enterprise IT environment, you're given a set of tasks. So either you're assigned a set of tasks or you're allowed to choose a set of tasks to work on during your sprint. And when you make your commits, you have to, the proper way of doing it, although you don't have to, proper way of doing it is you make your commits to an existing issue or user story or something of that nature by including that issue number or user story number in your commit message. And then when you do that, the system will be able to track it. So GitHub automatically does this, and I'll demonstrate that once we start doing some coding. Azure DevOps is what I use at work. It does the same thing. It's the same concept. So that is that. So when it comes to planning out the things that I want to change, so I want to have automated builds of the static content, which is, again, through the use of GitHub Actions. We'll cover that a little bit later. We want to have payment buttons for the various items. So that will be covered later as part of the design and setup. And we want to migrate the existing content from Drupal. So I'm going to take this existing content, really just the pages and the page bodies, and put it into the new site, and automating the deployment to production. So that will also be done via GitHub Actions. Creating the theme. So I want to take a Bootstrap template, modify it to kind of resemble what's currently there, but make some adjustments as need be. And then that will be the template theme for the site. And then using the static site generator, that will populate each of the pages that exist. So there are no concerns there with that. Pretty straightforward. There are some other items that I'm going to go through. I'm not going to do all of that on camera, but I wanted to give you at least the concept of what needs to be done when you're going through this process. Now, if you're creating a website for the first time, I would still suggest that you create these items in your GitHub issue queue. And the reason being because it demonstrates if you're, let's say you're going to trying to get a job working as a software developer or programmer or whatever the official title of that position that you're applying for may be. If you use GitHub as your portfolio and you have issues in here that when you build out your projects, websites, whatever they may be, software applications, if you have those in here, it demonstrates your knowledge of the project management, Scrum, Agile, those methodologies, because you're actually demonstrating, hey, create this item, give it some requirements, associate commits with said item, close it out once it's done. And that's essentially what you have to do in the enterprise software environment or application development process. You create issues, user stories, task items. The name vary, but the concept is still the same. There's something that needs to be done that's related to the code. You code against that item. Once that item is finished, you mark it completed. And then you can also use, in GitHub, it has the ability to set up projects in here. I'm not going to do that, although I could do that. I have done this with my personal website that I did follow the projects set up in here, and it works pretty well. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but for me, since I'm not really being too serious about this project as far as the administrative side of things, I'm not going to go and create a GitHub project. I'm gonna just stick with creating issues on here, and I may not even, like this one doesn't even have a description, but if you really want to be serious about it, you can go ahead and put a description in here. You can do the labels and assign it to yourself and all this other items things here that it has the ability to be able to do. And so going over to the code. So like I say, this site exists currently in Drupal. So I am going to have to make some changes to it as far as to do the automated deployments, as well as I'm going to work in a separate branch to do all of my changes, because what I want to do is to do all of the changes and then do a cutover of the website all at once. And that may take a little bit of effort because, like I say, it's currently on Drupal, and then I'm going to a site that's not on Drupal. So there may be a little bit of reconfiguration as far as the htaccess files that are in on Apache that have to be done, as well as maybe the sitemaps and a couple of other things. But I want to get all of that in here and to be able to have it implemented. There's also implementing some SEO strategies, as well as the Open Graph, I believe is the name, OG metadata tags, and the Twitter card tags, so that if somebody chooses to share the content that we have on the site, that they are able to do so, and it shows up in the proper manner that is properly formatted with the data that we expect it to be properly shown in. All right, so as I continue through here, and I'm gonna go through this part here. So because I'm using Drupal and this Drupal site hasn't been updated in some time, GitHub actually will scan your project if you enable it, and it will throw security alerts and so forth about some security advisories or any issues that exist. Like I mentioned, I haven't updated this Drupal site in some time because I knew this website change was going to be coming, so I kind of lacked off on the maintenance. So that's another thing of why switching from Drupal or a content management based website to a static website is because it's less maintenance. And again, because I'm not the actual officer on the board that is responsible for maintaining the website, although I have the technical background in maintaining the website, I want to be able to reduce the amount of maintenance that's required to maintain the site, securely maintain the site, that is. And so once we switch off of Drupal, a lot of this security advisory stuff will go away because it's no longer needed. We don't have those same level of vulnerabilities because we're not using that same level of technology to run the website. All right, so I'm going to go through, add some more issues here. If you want to, you can check out this project. I'll put a link down in the description below to this project. By the time you're watching this video, though, all of these items will, if they're not closed, they probably will be in almost close to being closed. And so you can actually come back in here and still review these items. If they are closed, just come to issues, click close, and then as you see, you have all the items listed here. And I'm going to have more items, as I previously mentioned, But that's how you're able to see that within GitHub. And then, of course, the commits will also be here on the code page. You just come and it'll be a different branch over here by the time this video is released. So you can see all of that here. So that will wrap things up for this video. If you have any questions about project management, software development, programming, or anything of that nature, drop a comment down below. I'll be sure to respond to you. If you don't want to drop a comment down below, you can hit me up on social media. I am on Twitter and Instagram at almostengr, as you see up here in the corner. Last but not least, please give this video a thumbs up if you have learned a little bit. And also, please be sure to subscribe. Each week I drop new videos, and this week I will definitely be dropping more videos because of the fact it is Engineers Week. So until next time, peace out.